My mom was the most amazing, most supportive person, biggest cheerleader you'll ever meet. She was my best friend. She also grew up in a very small town, and nobody ever explained to her that the church is full of imperfect people just trying to do better. She saw the typical, what we call hypocrite, like you lead this life on Saturday and then you go lead this life on Sunday. So my mom was, you can go to whatever church you want, you can go with all of your friends, I don't care. Just please don't come home and try and tell me about this God. I became a very young mom. Will and I met when I was 20, and we quickly became pregnant. So we got married, and neither one of us were truly ready for a marriage. So we struggled very hard, and I started leaning more on my mom, being that best friend, that support system who was amazing. And she didn't really believe in God. And so I tippy-toed in my faith. I stopped going to church. I stopped volunteering at the church. I just started living my life more for being a mom, and lost God in it. I wouldn't say I walked away. I just kind of put him up on a shelf. So Will and I had separated. And then I just went further and further. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to do it alone. When our eldest turned about 4 or 5, I reconnected. Started going back to church, but I started living a double life. Then I was like, well, maybe this is the most relationship I'm going to have with him. This is just a nice story. This is a nice way to strive to live, but I'm going to mess it up. So here we go. God became a Sunday relationship for me. And then Monday through Friday was like, here's the real world. I became disenchanted with my life. So Will and I struggled off and on for years. My mom and her relationship broke up, and she was going through a lot of things that I didn't realize at the time was like a depression. And she moved in with me, and all of a sudden my mom became another dependent of mine. I still wanted to honor my mother and respect her, but my best friend was slowly deteriorating in front of my eyes, and it was time for me to make choices in my life. And I chose to leave California in 2010. I picked up the moving truck and we headed to Idaho. And then I totally shut God out. I took 2 years off from everything. Then in November of 2011, me and my mom, we got into a really big argument. And we lived together, and she didn't talk to me. And I was at my wit's end, and I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And a neighbor had said, there's this church, Cedar Hills, that is a pretty cool church. It's pretty laid back. And so got up New Year's morning, walked in the doors at 7:45 a.m. for the 8 a.m. service. I sat in the very back row on the very end seat, because I was like, if these people are crazy or weird, I'm out of here. Then Eric walked up on stage and was like, he's like one of me. These are my people. He's not this gentleman in a suit so I was like, wow, this place is different. These guys are pretty nice. They're welcoming. This is really comforting feeling. And I went home really feeling good about myself. Like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do this again next Sunday. Except 15 minutes before my alarm went off the next Sunday, my daughter came running into my room because my mom had collapsed on my kitchen floor. Come to find out, she'd had an aneurysm rupture. She stroked during surgery. I went to see her, and she didn't know who I was. I was panicked. It lasted for about 15 minutes, and then she just looked at me just like, why are you upset? And I go, you didn't know who I was, Mom. Well, little did we know that she actually had dementia, and this sped up the whole process. So over the next 6 months, I lost her slowly. But then I heard a talk. It was like, you can come as you are. You're broken. We don't care. We just don't want you to continue to stay that way. And my mom passed. And I was broken, but okay. God knew I was going to lose my best friend. And so he said, let me give you a place while you're losing your best friend. And let me surround you. And God slowly just grew me. And the more I got involved and the more I talked to people, the more I could see Jesus at work. Will came up and he said, I'm sick and tired of you thinking you've got this all. I'm going to come up. And I was like, do whatever. And I was like, but you've got to go to this church. Like, I found this church and I think you'll really like it. And he was like, I'll do it for you, but I don't really want anything to do with church. Behavior started to change. Thought processes started to change. Communication changed. And then I looked one day and I was like, wow, Will's focusing on God. We started growing together and it was amazing. And I am living my best life with Jesus right now because I stopped letting myself hold me back. And until I felt the arms of Jesus wrap me in love in my moments of the most depth despair that I had, I realized I never really understood love. You can't share something you've never experienced. So if you want to truly share love and share Jesus, you have to allow him in, and you have to allow that experience to just happen and trust the process, that it's going to be messy, it's going to be sticky, but it's going to be worth it.